Hello everybody, I hope you're staying positive and doing well. Look at these postcards. I've got some postcards. These are postcards that I found in the loft when I was going through some old boxes. They're from various years. They've been happily living in our loft for a while. But they're Japanese New Year cards from friends who sent them wishing us Happy New Year. And the interesting thing about Happy New Year when you greet people is that you don't know what's going to happen that year, do you? But what we can remember is no matter what our situation, our times are in God's hands. So I've written a couple of postcards to help us remember. Here's postcard 1 and postcard 2. So postcard 1 is to remind us from Psalm 31 that God is in control of our times, of our lives. So this is what Psalm 31 says: I trust in you, Lord. I say you are my God. My times are in your hands. So one thing that's exciting about following God is that he has bigger and better purposes than we can actually fully understand. And it doesn't mean that it will be easy for us when we follow, but it is exciting that we can follow his call, whatever situation we find ourselves in. Now for David, this psalm was written when he was in a time of crying out to God to be his refuge. And it might be that we also have the same kind of situation in our lives, and there's no shame in crying out to God to be our refuge. And what's interesting about Psalm 31 is that it's also the psalm that Jesus quoted when he said, "Into your hands I commit my spirit." And that verse goes on to say, "Deliver me, Lord, my faithful God." And we know from Jesus' example that his situation went on beyond death. So even if our own situation was to end in death, that is not the end of God's plans. What we mustn't do is fight against God's purposes just because we don't understand them. And if you look at Daniel 7, what we learn from Daniel 7 is that God has a bigger picture of history than we can understand. So in Daniel 7 it says there are set times, and it is opposing God to try and change what God has set. And a couple of verses after that, in Daniel 7:27, it says this: "Then the sovereignty, power and greatness of all the kingdoms under heaven will be handed over to the holy people of the Most High. His kingdom will be an everlasting kingdom, and all rulers will worship and obey him." So doesn't that make our earthly lives feel pale in comparison to eternity? And it should remind us that everything is still under control as far as God is concerned. So let me show you something about these New Year cards. They've all got a little lottery number at the bottom. And actually, I think you can win things like electrical goods and various loads of things. But I've never actually checked. It's sort of never been felt like it was worth my while to check. I've never been subconsciously interested enough to check my numbers. I might have won something valuable. But actually, there's a picture here for me which is about the difference between things that we should find valuable and things that we don't find valuable. So the difference between earthly rewards and prizes and heaven's rewards and prizes, the things that God will give us in eternity. So in this life, God will give you good things. He's your Father, so you can expect good things from God. That doesn't mean you have to get rid of them or be embarrassed about them. But what I'm trying to say is there's no point making an effort and using all of our time and energy to chase after worldly rewards and prizes when we have eternity to move on to afterwards. And so can we live close enough to God in our lives that even subconsciously we're not interested, we're not making an effort, we're not driven towards the things which are worldly rewards and prizes? And that's the message of my postcards. Postcard 1 and postcard 2, Psalm 31 and Daniel 7.